Welcome back to this channel. This is Unfiltered Forex, and I am yours truly, Clement, here for the weekly forecast. Okay, let's get to it. This week, the week starting Monday, July 17th, which is today, we already got the China GDP numbers. The growth was below estimates, but of course, China is known for cooking up their numbers. They might be accurate, they might not be accurate, but those are the numbers they released. Later this week, on Tuesday, Reserve Bank of Australia monetary policy statement. Core retail sales month over month. This is for the USD. This is a very important release. And I think this is the most important release we are getting this week concerning the US economy. Core retail sales. There's another one later. I'll talk about it when I get there. CAD core CPI. Be sure to watch that if you're trading Canadian pairs. Industrial production month over month. Business indices. New Zealand CPI. Great Britain pound CPI. PPI. This is on Wednesday. Core CPI. Okay, so you can see these major economies other than the US, they are releasing their CPI readings this week. So you can expect some big moves on the pound, big moves on the euro pairs, big moves on the Canadian pairs. And then on Wednesday, still building permits, month over month, building permits for June preliminaries. Okay, so these housing numbers are another important numbers other than the retail sales we'll be getting on Tuesday because this is a leading indicator of the economy. More building permits means stronger consumer spending means the economy is doing good because buildings are considered they are big projects and they need proper financing to do that. So building permits give a good picture of where the economy is going. Housing starts, this another one, same with the building permits. This is just the number of houses being started. Yeah, very important leading indicator. That's why we don't trade this one because it's a leading indicator. It's not efficient for day trading. Moving on, Japan exports trade balance Thursday. People's Bank of China loan prime rates. The Chinese yuan guys, they are cutting rates. These ones are already cutting rates to stimulate the economy. After the China COVID impact, it was big there. So yeah. Thursday also employment change for the Australian dollar. US dollar initial jobless claims. Philadelphia Fed manufacturing index. This will be important to watch. Another leading indicator. Existing home sales. These homes, these home numbers, they are leading indicators as I have already talked about. National CPI YOY, National CPI MOM. Japanese yen. Friday, core retail sales for the pound and core retail sales for the Canadian dollar. And that's pretty much it for the week economically. So we have seen the major economies other than the US, mm, the New Zealand, Europe, Great Britain, Canada, and Japan. They are all releasing their CPI numbers this week. That'll be something important to watch if you are trading any of those pairs, more so the cross pairs. That's why you might be too confused. Okay, that's it for this economic calendar. Let's go here. Market struggle as China growth misses forecast. Yeah, this is today. Market struggle Monday to build on last week's rally. New data showing China's economy grew less than expected in the second quarter as its post-COVID recovery runs out of steam. However, scale of workforce facing Chinese officials was laid bare on Monday with data showing blah 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 blah. Continue. Here we are. Also in focus is the start of the corporate earnings season. I'll get to that next, which got into full swing Friday with forecast topping results and outlooks from banking titans Citigroup, JP Morgan, and Wells Fargo. Finance ministers and central bank honest, blah blah blah. Let's just ignore that one for now. This is the earnings season calendar. Most anticipated earnings releases for the week beginning July 17th, 2023. Let's use this. So as you can see first, just looking at it like this, you can see some significant names: Tesla, Netflix, American Airlines, TSMC, Taiwan Semiconductor Company, and yeah, that's those are probably the big names you know of if you don't trade stocks. These are just very common companies. Then going into the thick of it, if you start looking detail by detail, you can see there are very many banks releasing earnings this week. Guarantee, Trust Bank, First Bank, Corporate, First Bank, Equity Lifestyle Properties, these are property stuff. Home Bank, Bank of America, Charles Schwab, these are financial institution, Morgan Stanley, another bank. Lockheed Martin is like military contractors. These guys they get most of the defense spending from the U.S. government. PNC Bank, Prologis, this is to do with real estate. BNY Mellon, this is Bank of New York, Mellon. Synchrony, Mercantile Novartis, Financial Corporation, United Community Bank, Pinnacle Financial, wherever, Interactive Brokers, Western Alliance, Goldman Sachs, US Bank Corp, M&T Bank, Citizens Financial Group. So there are very many banks releasing earnings this week, not just on Wednesday, even on Thursday. You can see, where's this one? Blackstone Group, Key Bank, Associated Bank, First Financial Bank, Bank of ZK, Capital One. Okay, so this week, this is big for the US 30 because the US 30 is what's considered the Wall Street index. It's what's considered to be the index that measures, that portrays the health of the banking system because most of the financial sector stocks they are piled up in there, the US 30. So you can expect big moves on the US 30 depending on how good or how bad these banks will perform because these are regional banks. The earnings we got last week from the JP Morgan, Citibank, Wells Fargo, those are the big banks. Of course, they beat estimates. Those banks are doing very good. But when it comes to these regional banks, the picture isn't usually the same, especially a bank like US Bank. Or we're going to see these regional banks, they are kind of struggling. And we're going to see that this week. So you can expect a lot of news. Suppose they post weak numbers. Remember, during the previous earnings season, that's where FRC, that's where they failed. After they failed even before their earnings, and after they released their earnings, their stock crashed. I think 80%. Was it 80 or almost 90? Yeah, their stock crashed very hard after their earnings. So these bank stocks, these small banks, they're on the lookout. We need to look out for them. They might crash the whole indices like the US 30 or something. Yeah. Otherwise, this week, as you can see, very many earnings from very many big companies. More so, the companies concentrated in the US 30: Johnson and Johnson, American Airlines, and Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs, especially. Let me pull up a chart here. Dow Jones companies. Components of the Dow Jones by weight. This is sorted by weight. United Health Group, they released their earnings last week on Friday, I believe. Yeah, I think it was Friday. Microsoft, Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs, as you have seen, their earnings are coming on Wednesday before they open. So you can expect some big moves on the US 30 because of these guys. Otherwise, all those other small banks, they will have an effect on these whole index as a whole because they in turn have an effect on the general performance of the banking sector. Yeah, that was it for that one on this earnings calendar. Something else I should look at is this guy, Mad Money with Jim Cramer. Crammer gives his haves and have-nots of the earnings season. Okay, as you know, and as I said in the previous video, Jim Crammer is the perfect reverse indicator, and we're going to see that shortly. This guy, if he says something is going to buy, you need to short that thing with your life. So yeah, CNBC's Jim Cramer giving investors the haves and have-nots of this year's earnings season. This market really about clear as I've seen it. And let's go. These are these are big names. The Magnificent Seven: Amazon, Alphabet, Microsoft, Apple, and especially Nvidia, even and Tesla. These companies, Apple and Nvidia, there's no doubt they are very likely to do good. They usually do. Many of these companies are thriving due to their focus on AI, especially Alphabet, Microsoft, and Nvidia. Alphabet is Google. Google, they released their Bard. Microsoft are the ones who bought ChatGPT, and Nvidia is the company that's making the supercomputers to run these AI programs, these big AI programs. Nvidia is making the computers. So, as you have heard, Nvidia is the one with concrete growth here. It is very likely that they will also post good results, just like they did in the previous quarter. Coming later, a few other contenders doing well. Ignore those ones. Okay. Anything that has to do with travel and leisure is a winner this earnings season, says Jim Crammer. There are companies here. Yeah, companies involved in the travel and leisure sector will do well. Delta, Airbnb, Carnival, Marriott, Wine, MGM. These are casinos. So these companies, they might post good results, but the stock price is something different. In fact, let's look at Delta. Delta, they released their earnings last week on Thursday. Yeah, let's look at the chart. Yep, this is the chart for Delta Airlines. They released their earnings last week on Thursday. Yeah, and they beat estimates. As you can see here, earnings standardized reported estimate. Surprise, this one. Reported revenue 14.6 billion. The estimate was 14.4 billion. Surprise of 173 million dollars. So yeah, the company did good. They beat estimates, but look, the stock price crashed half a percentage point by the time the day was closing, and the following day crashed 2%, 2.5% the following day. So you can see here, Jim Cramer was not exactly wrong by saying company is likely to post good results, but when it comes to the stock price, you need to do the exact opposite of what that guy says. This is just one example. If you know the dude, you know. Let's measure. In fact, let's measure this change. As you can see here, the stock crashed 4% during the open. After they opened, they released earnings in the pre-market, and the stock opened high but closed low. Stock fell 4% from its opening price. So if you're here and you are interested in trading stocks, you need to know that stock when it comes to trading stocks, the pre-market moves and the market moves are two worlds apart. You need to understand how to trade the moves when the market opens. You need to understand how the pre-market move will likely affect the move of the next 2 days, and also need to do some technical analysis, of course. Let's zoom out. Yeah, you can see here it was quite high. The stock has been rallying for quite a while now due to the travel season boom. Yeah, they did post good results, but now seems the stock is undergoing a retracement. Maybe a minor retracement, maybe a healthy correction, or a change in trend altogether. We'll just have to wait and see for that one. Let's read this article. Tesla Netflix banks on tap as earnings season ramps up. What to know this week? Results from Bank of America and Goldman Sachs will provide a further look at how the financial system is handling the fallout from a string of bank failures in the spring. On Wednesday, Netflix and Tesla will be the first of the tech giants fueling this year's market rally to report second quarter results, as you have seen in the earnings calendar. On the economic data front, retail sales data for June, home builder sentiment, and latest read on housing starts will feature on a quieter economic calendar. Last week, US economy checked all the right boxes data, inflation increasing at the slowest pace since March 2021, while consumer sentiment hit the highest level in nearly 2 years. If you check the weekly recap, the link should be popping up somewhere. You're going to see that. Continuing, these positive reads coupled with strong earnings from JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, and Delta Airlines help send stocks higher. Because of course, so let's not go deep into the readings, but let's look at this. Investors will be particularly keen to hear from Goldman Sachs CEO David Solomon amid concerns about the health of the wealth institution after job cuts and reports of internal pushback about bank strategy. So, in general, on the tech front, Tesla kickoff. Okay, this is just going in circles here. We have pretty much covered everything there is to talk about in this coming week. We're just going to wait and see how the week plays out. Stay tuned for more. I will release a video probably at the end of the week after this all earnings thing is out, discussing some of the results and what that means for these companies as individual, what that means for these indices as individual these indices, the Nasdaq and the US 30, the S&P 500 of course, and what those earnings will mean also for the US economy and for other companies as a whole. That was it. Thanks for watching.